I'm Jordan Hadfield, and this is Faster Film Critic. Today on the show, we discuss Fargo with Kolter and Chase Fugel. Fargo is a 1996 Coen Brothers film starring William H. Macy, Frances McDormand, Steve Buscemi, and Peter Stormare. Oh yeah, this here film's great. I can't do the accent. Get in! We're going cinephiling. Guys, I'm sorry. I promise I will not do the North Central American English accent again through the rest of this episode. I can't pull it off.
I'm going to be disappointed if you don't.
You got to give it a shot. I don't know. It's not the easiest accent to hit.
Well, I can't talk like him, but I can talk about him, and I am really excited to talk about Fargo.
Oh, you betcha. Yeah.
Hey, that was pretty good. This movie, to me, is as much of a Christmas film as It's a Wonderful Life.
Wow. Okay.
I know there's no talk of Christmas or Christmas Eve or Santa Claus or presents. This film isn't going to give you the warm fuzzies and motivate you to be a better person, help your neighbor.
Right.
The film may not spread Christmas cheer, but to me, Fargo is a Christmas movie, and I love it.
Well, I mean, there is snow and bodies being pulverized into mush coming out of wood chippers. That's pretty festive.
Yeah.
Huh?
Merry Christmas, Kolter.
And to you as well.
What makes this such a good Christmas film to you?
I don't know, man. I think I originally saw this film in December, and so now I often revisit it in December. I once gave the film as a Christmas present to my little sister, and I know she watches it every December. She loves it. It's a Christmas film in her eyes, too. Therefore, I'm not the only psychopath who loves to watch this film when it's cold outside and there's snow on the ground and the children are all tucked snug in their beds while visions of sugar plums dance in their heads.
Nothing says Christmas like a black comedy crime movie, you know?
Exactly.
Hits you right in the feels every time.
Actually, as crazy as your take is about it being a Christmas film, I understand it.
Good.
My first time watching it was December of last year, and I just rewatched it again this December. And it's probably just going to be a Christmas film from now on for me.
Welcome aboard the Fargo Christmas train.
The characters are just so good. Specifically, Marge Gunderson.
Marge Gunderson is great in this movie.
Yeah, Frances McDormand just can play a great weirdo. And the Coen Brothers can write an amazing weirdo.
She isn't just the strange, goofy, weird character like the others in the film, though. She is the heart and soul of this movie. Frances McDormand is absolutely fantastic here.
Agreed.
Because she's the most interesting character in the movie, she's the only one who's really competent. She's got a nice mix of kind of being compassionate, yet she is very procedural, and she's really the only smart person in the whole film. You've got your two kind of bumbling, barely competent criminal idiots.
Pancake's house.
The Pancake's house. Yeah, you got these two. You got Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare. Peter Stormare in particular, man, is a very, very talented character actor. You know, he plays these often very weird. His range is really outstanding, and everything you see him in, he's really good. Coen Brother movies, practically their own subgenre. They tend to blend the weirdest kind of components of black comedy and the characters. They often ride the line of between being convincing and caricatures.
The best thing about this film is the characters.
Yeah.
The story in Fargo is fantastic. It is fun, and it is creative, and it is comedic. I thoroughly enjoy the story here. However, it is the characters that make this movie. And interestingly, it is largely the accent that makes the characters. The film doesn't work as well.
No.
If it takes place in Florida or in California.
No.
I would say it doesn't work at all.
Well, I agree. It definitely wouldn't be as good.
Yeah.
These situations that these characters get put in are so serious and so outlandish, and they're not trying to be funny, but their accent makes it so easy to laugh at them.
Absolutely. There are scenes that are not funny, that are serious, and yet because of this accent, we find ourselves laughing.
And unlike most comedies, it doesn't lead up to a punchline. It's this uncomfortable, humorous tension that lingers on screen, and it feels kind of inappropriate to laugh at because of the seriousness of these scenes. But
it's so Coen Brothers, and props to them because the writing in this film is so good.
Yeah.
In fact, speaking of the story, the film starts and we are told that the events depicted, regardless of how difficult it is to believe, are true.
Yeah.
That this film is based on a true story.
Sure.
And it's not.
No.
It's not a true story.
No.
There are aspects of it that are related to truth, but it's not a true story.
Yeah.
Do you think this trickery is justified? Do you think this is effective?
Yep.
I think it's so effective and so funny. It's playing a joke on the viewer. You're in disbelief that this is actually happening. And then by the end, you feel like an idiot because you actually believed it for so long. And the film is laughing at you. And you can't help but laugh. It's so funny.
But the film never tells you that it's just kidding. There's never a, hey, just kidding.
No, even better, you come to your own conclusion. You realize.
Fargo is not the first film to claim to be fact, even though it's fiction.
Oh, yeah.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre did it in 1974.
Yep.
The Blair Witch Project did it in the late 90s.
Yep.
And the Blair Witch Project, man, that was a little different situation. The extent that it went to from a marketing standpoint to convince its viewer that it was real was pretty remarkable. I was in junior high school through all of that. And man, that was really fun to read into the hype before the movie came out and go to the film thinking maybe there is some truth here. That was fascinating. Fargo's a little bit different in that sense, but it definitely wants its viewer to think, at least initially, that it's real.
Yeah. Yeah, one's kind of a marketing ploy. The other is a storytelling technique, I'd say.
And I wasn't around on opening night for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I can't imagine what that experience would have been like.
Oh, yeah.
Opening weekend, going in to see that film thinking that it was based on true events. There are a ton of movies that I would just kill to go back and experience for the first time on opening night. There's so many movies that would be so fantastic to experience on opening night.
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre would absolutely be one of them.
Agreed.
But back to Fargo, I'm really glad they tried to convince me that its narrative was based on real events.
Yeah.
It made the initial viewing experience so much more fun. And even when I discovered that it wasn't entirely factual, it still adds to the gag. That comes on and I laugh about it. I love it. I think it was a great decision by the Coen Brothers. 99.9999999% of filmmakers should never attempt this.
Yeah.
The danger is high, but the Coen Brothers pulled it off. I think it really works with this story.
Yeah, I think I remained convinced for years. I didn't know. I didn't care to look up and find out. It didn't really matter. Like I liked that that was part of the hook for me.
So we talked about the characters. Which character is your favorite?
They're all so entertaining.
It's a tough question to answer, man. Yeah,
It's hard to pick.
I don't usually like characters that I just want to, like William H. Macy is Jerry Lundegaard. He's this car salesman who finds himself in a spot of trouble financially, and his answer to that is to pay somebody to kidnap his wife and set up a ransom for it. Talk about a character that's foolish and very fallible doofus. I mean, you just want to pick him up and throw him around. But his lack of foresight, his awkwardness while being interrogated by Frances McDormand's character, Marge, it's cringy. You're watching, it's uncomfortable, and you're kind of squirming around while this guy's trying to talk himself out of this hole.
Yeah.
You both hate him and love him. And it's largely because of his performance.
You know what's funny? I didn't hate him. I only loved him. I wanted him to get away. I wanted his plan to work out. I did. I did.
way.
And it's largely because of the accent. Let's not lie. Like, it's largely because of the accent. I love this guy. I wanted him to get away. What he was doing was horrible, but the poor guy
just can't help but love him.
He just, I didn't hate him at all. I loved him. I was bummed when they arrested him at the end. I was like, dang it. By the way, William H. Macy wanted this role so bad, and he was afraid he wasn't going to get it. Yeah. He went to the Coens after his audition and said, I am so scared you guys are going to ruin this movie by giving the lead role to somebody else.
Oh, man.
Like, he showed up and was like, guys, this is my role.
Yeah.
Do not make the mistake of giving it to anyone else.
That's funny. I think he was supposed to have a smaller part in it, too, but glad it went the way it did.
Yeah, Macy's fantastic. Anyway, favorite characters?
My favorite character has got to be Carl Showalter, Steve Buscemi, the odd-looking fellow.
Yeah.
The eyesore. He's just so funny.
He's funny in every movie he plays. You know that Steve Buscemi dies in 98% of his roles?
Yeah.
He's just constantly being cast to be murdered everywhere he goes.
Yeah, it's funny.
Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Billy Madison, Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, Desperado, Fargo, Con Air, Big Lebowski, Armageddon, Sopranos. I'm reading his character list online. He's killed in all of these roles. Monster House. He's even killed in animated kid movies. Grown Ups. The Ridiculous Six. It just never ends. The Dead Don't Die. Rick and Morty. Kill Court. Directors just like the way he died. So, Chase, why is he your favorite character in Fargo?
I love Carl Showalter because he loves to take himself so seriously.
Yeah.
He likes to appear like this dangerous criminal, but he's just this
Goofy dude.
Just this goofy dude who can't help but be anxious and appear incompetent to everybody else.
You're definitely not bored when he's on screen.
That's for sure. He likes to puff himself up, but everybody just knows him as the weirdo.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite character?
I don't know that I would say she's my favorite character, but I really love Kristen Rudrud. She plays Jean Lundegaard, the wife that's kidnapped.
Yeah.
She's so great. And you know she is from Fargo.
No,
She was born and raised in Fargo.
Who is from Fargo? Nobody.
Except for Kristen Rudrud.
Except for
just
her.
When she's sitting there knitting and watching the commercials on TV and she smiles.
I know, I love it.
Her hair's all messed up.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to break into her house and she leans up in her chair like, what's going on here, eh? They're trying to... Certainly they're not trying to break into my house. And yeah, her in the sleeping bag running into the tree.
She's so perfect. Let me tell you who my least favorite character is.
Okay.
Mike Yanagita.
Who?
Oh, my wife died. Yeah, that guy. Hey, Mike Yanagita, eh?
Oh.
Why is that?
So that scene where Marge Gunderson goes out to the restaurant to meet with Mike and he's talking about his wife, that is considered to be the most useless, pointless scene in all of cinema. It does nothing to drive the story forward at all.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's pointless.
No kidding.
I mean, it doesn't add anything to the story, but
Nothing to the
it's
story.
so entertaining to see her shut this guy down.
Yeah.
I love that scene. I thought it was really good.
Every time I watch it, I ask myself, why is this scene here?
Yeah.
Why? How did this scene end up in the film?
I mean, that's kind of a hallmark of the Coen Brothers, I would say, though. Whether they put that in there is to just give you a little bit more insight or flesh out a character. In this case, it would be Marge. Flesh her character out just a little bit more. Like, you know, it's almost like the director's wanting to see personally, like, let's put Marge in this situation. Give the audience a little break from all the bleak, dire happenings of what's going on in the rest of the plot and just have her deal with this one little weird, awkward situation. Why they put it in, what purpose did it serve? Who knows? But maybe it was just the Coen brothers kind of giggling to themselves. Let's put her in this situation and see what she does. Just for, I mean, who knows why?
There's another aspect of this film that we absolutely have to talk about. For you cannot talk about Fargo without talking about the incredible work of Roger Deakins.
Oh, yeah.
Roger Deakins is the director of photography, and the decisions that he made in this film are not only incredibly deliberate, but they are incredibly impactful.
Yep.
And it is the simplicity that I love so much about the photography here.
Yep.
There's very few push-ins or zoom-outs or tracking shots.
Yeah.
It's simple, and it communicates to the viewer, largely subconsciously, the simplicity of the characters, the simplicity of the story, the simplicity of the setting. The camera is just stationary for the vast majority of the film. And it's so subtle, but it adds so much.
Yeah.
It sets the tone and the feeling for the movie, and it just wouldn't be the same without Roger Deakins. He's largely a hero in this film.
Oh, yeah.
I love the exterior shots he uses where it's just flat. Usually on the lower half of the screen is the land, and then it's all just sky. There's not much in the scene, but Roger Deakins tells the story using the entire frame, using it to his full advantage, and I think it's so cool.
I mean, if you're not familiar with the work of Roger Deakins...
I mean, look at basically any of the Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah, he's worked with them a lot. He is an absolute legend in the film industry.
Yep.
He shot Empire of Light, 1917, Blade Runner 2024, Sicario, Prisoners, Skyfall, True Grit, A Serious Man, Revolutionary Road. He did Shawshank Redemption, The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford, No Country for Old Men, The Village, Intolerable Cruelty, Beautiful Mind, Oh Brother Where Art Thou, The Big Lebowski, Hudsucker Proxy, the list goes on. And these are some great films with some great cinematography.
Some of my favorite cinematography ever in this film. And it's pretty understated. When I think of films with greatest cinematography, usually I think of Revenant or like The Shining, which are kind of flashy.
Yeah, Fargo doesn't come to mind.
Yeah.
But Fargo is amazing.
At capturing the simplicity, capturing the mood of the film. It's gray. It's very gray and drab throughout.
Drabs. Perfect.
So cool.
There is one scene, though, where Roger Deakins breaks this kind of stationary, simplistic style, and he goes for a push-in on William Macy's character. It's early in the movie. Jerry Lundegaard's in his office. He's sitting at the desk, and he gets a call from, I believe, corporate, and they're asking about some VIN numbers on some vehicles. And Jerry's obviously in some trouble here. He's trying to hide it. He's very nervous. He's tense. And the camera kind of pushes in on him. The camera's outside of his office and it's peering through a window. And there's these blinds. And the blinds are semi-open. And from the perspective of the camera, they look like jail bars.
Yeah.
Almost like Jerry's in jail.
Yep.
And as the camera pushes in, it becomes very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
It tightens in on him, and it's a slow move forward. And it almost foreshadows the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
It almost gives you a sense of what's to come in the future, right?
Yeah.
This guy's in trouble. The world is closing in on him. And pretty soon, he is going to find himself behind bars. I think it's so cool. It's such a really great scene. Again, so subtle. But the artistic and creative vision that Roger Deakins has here in this very short scene just adds so much. I can't speak enough about his cinematography, his work here. It is absolutely fantastic.
Talk about a variance in filmography, too. I mean, the guy has done super kind of kinetic movies in which the camera is always moving to something like this where, we talk about the environment that the characters are playing in is just as much a character as the people themselves. These wide static shots where not only is it complementing what's going on within the scene, it's complementing the tone and the pace of a movie. North Dakota is not the prettiest state in the world. Sorry, North Dakotans. It's pretty barren. It's flat, and it looks isolated and desolate, especially in the middle of the winter. So, all those things just lend so well to extremely unique filmmaking.
I know this is a tough question, but do you guys have a favorite scene?
Oh, it's hard to pick.
I think mine would be that the handoff, the ransom handoff between Carl and Gare, the two men hired to kidnap Jerry's wife, and they're meeting with Jerry's father-in-law, who's this kind of gruff, no-nonsense guy who's kind of taking matters into his own hands. And of course, the handoff goes bad. The father-in-law gets shot in the stomach, but not before pulling his pistol out and shooting Carl in the cheek. And it just kind of, it's this wonderful scene that kind of exemplifies everybody's incompetence. Again, really the only competent character is Marge. You can argue maybe her husband, he seems kind of sweet, lovable enough.
Yeah.
Got a bit of a lug, but nice enough. And Marge is really the only person who seems to kind of have her shit together out of all these characters. So it kind of just highlights this, that it's just a bunch of incompetent boobs tripping over each other to try to pull off this scheme, resulting in kind of a horrific and graphic, just giant misstep, but kind of just highlights the whole theme of this movie, which is just incompetent boobs out to get their quick fix and coming up with stupid solutions to problems.
Speaking of that scene, this is another film where they really had trouble getting natural snow on the set.
Yeah.
And in this scene you're talking about on the rooftop, all the snow had dried up. In fact, this was one of the warmest winters in North Dakota in a really long time.
Okay.
And they were having trouble getting natural snow, the gray skies that you see in a lot of the film. They had trouble finding this. It was bright and sunny in North Dakota at this time, which made it really challenging. But that scene in the parking lot, they had to bring in fake snow and create the fake snow. And if you look, the parking garage is covered in snow, but the background, you can see that there is no snow anywhere.
No snow, that's funny.
There's like a foot of snow on the top of this parking garage, and in the background, no snow at all.
That's
That
funny.
is funny.
But anyway, Chase, what was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene's right at the very end when Marge Gunderson sees the missing car outside this house and she goes up to investigate. And when she comes around the house, she sees a body in the wood chipper and this guy's trying to shove the feet down with a log and everything. And she's yelling really loud. She's like, "Police! Police!" But he can't hear her. He can't.
Yeah.
So it's a really awkward scene.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to bang these feet further into the wood chipper. It's really...
I mean, it's iconic scene.
Yeah, it's iconic. And it sits for so long until he looks over and she just points to the star on the top of her head.
Yeah.
And then he
really
starts
funny.
Then he starts running.
Yeah, he starts running
Like a
really
goofball.
anticlimactic.
You're right.
He falls down, and you can see the price of his boots written in Sharpie on the bottom of his boot. It says $9.99. He falls down, and you see this
Yeah.
That scene is iconic.
So good.
Look, see, he's wearing that goofy ass hat and those long johns. It just makes him look all the more ridiculous when he's running away.
It's so good. I mean, if you think of Fargo, that's the first scene that comes to mind. It's so iconic.
Sure.
So good.
Yeah.
My favorite scene, however, how do you pick a favorite scene in this film? There's so many.
Yeah.
But if I had to answer the question, it's different than both scenes that you've pointed to. It is the scene where Jean Lundegaard gets kidnapped, where they bust in the house and she runs up into the bathroom and just the fear on her face and the way she reacts to that and running down the stairs and tripping and falling. That whole scene is just so great.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that scene.
Her performance right there when she's covered in the shower curtain and just flailing around
ridiculous.
everywhere. Yeah. It reminds me of the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where the girls are just running and flailing. The Italian lady's running. She can't even speak English, just flailing, falling all over. Yeah.
The funny thing is that how horrifying this scene would be if it was played straight. If it wasn't a dark comedy, how god-awful and terrifying this would be. But it just works on so many levels.
It truly does.
I noticed a lot more watching this film a second time. And I was surprised by one of the things that I picked out, showing the three distinct evils and their motivations with Jerry Lundegaard, Carl Showalter, and Geir Grimsrud.
What a name, huh? Grimsrud.
Yeah, say that 3 times fast.
Jerry Lundegaard, I mean, it's no secret, he's an idiot. His evil actions stem from arrogance, desperation, and not thinking about the consequences. Carl Showalter is your typical evil criminal, he just wants money. Like, he doesn't care that the ends justify the means, whatever. And then Geir Grimsrud, however you say that.
Yeah.
The weirdest character. He's quiet for most of the movie. And then at the very end, you see like this crazy amount of evil, not motivated by money, just the want to kill.
So I would describe Jerry Lundegaard as not evil, but stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In other words, he doesn't wish harm on anybody. He's just got himself in a bad situation because he's stupid and he relies on stupidity to get himself out of it.
Yeah.
I would describe Carl Showalter as not inherently evil, but extremely selfish.
Sure.
To the point that in certain situations, he's willing to commit evil acts in order to save his own hide. He's an extremely selfish man, which is obviously a form of evil.
Yeah.
But then we have Geir Grimsrud, and Geir is dead inside. He has no sympathy, empathy, or morality, and has no problem killing, torturing, or creating suffering for others.
Yeah. They do sociopathic characters so well in many of their movies where, it's just terrifying, man. It's like bone rattling, the kind of, the performances they get out of these. But they do that particular kind of evil so well.
Speaking of things the Coens do so well, in 1996, Fargo was nominated for Best Picture. It should have won. English Patient won. The Academy got this wrong. Fargo was the Best Picture of that year.
Agreed.
It was also nominated for Best Supporting Actor in William H. Macy, Best Director, Best Cinematography, again Roger Deakins, and Best Film Editing. It won Best Actress in a Leading Role by Frances McDormand and Best Writing Screenplay, of course, the Coen Brothers.
Yeah.
Gene Siskel says this is one of his favorite films of all time.
Wow.
Roger Ebert calls it the best film of 1996. Even Tom Hanks says this film is perfect on every level. But my question to you, gentlemen, is what does Faster Film Critic think? Let's rate the film 1 to 5. Go.
It really didn't land for me as much the first time. The humor, I didn't really get it. Because it never builds up to a punchline. It's just this awkward tension that kind of lingers on screen until the end of the scene.
Yeah.
But the second time I could really appreciate it. And I love this film. I give it a 4.5.
Yeah. I have always adored the Coen Brothers and their movies. Many of their movies I would give a 5, and this is definitely one of them. This is a very well executed, uneasy journey with mostly simplistic, idiotic characters, save for Marge. The cinematography, the feel, the tone, the pace are all just expertly executed, and it's one of their best, which can be said for, I think, the majority of their movies. So it's a 5 for me.
I also give this film a 5. Like Chase, I didn't fully appreciate it the first time I watched it. And I should have. It's on me. I should have, but I didn't. And the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time, this film, every time I watch it, I love it more and more. The film is perfection. 5-star film. If you have not seen Fargo, please do yourself a favor. Get comfortable on the couch with a nice big blanket and a loved one and put on one of the greatest Christmas movies you can. For Fargo is a 5-star film. It's a must-watch.
Listen, this one is near and dear to me. If you have not seen the Coen Brothers' most unimportantly important movie, 1998's The Big Lebowski, you're missing out on one of the most complex, eclectic, and possibly pointless movie of all time. The Coens practically create their own subgenre here, weaving comedy, mystery, and nihilism into a modern masterpiece. If you have not seen The Big Lebowski, the dude does not abide.
Thank you for listening to Faster Film Critic, and please join us next time when we discuss The Order, directed by Justin Kurzel. It is a 2024 crime thriller starring Jude Law and Nicholas Hoult. You can also follow us on Letterboxd, Cinetrack, and Instagram. Email us at fasterfilmcritic@gmail.com. Hit us up if you have any questions, comments, feedback, or review requests, and please share this episode with your movie-loving friends.